Hello, my name is Lavin Jai, and let's get started. Former President Yahya Jammeh has bagged an award. The award was received by top APRC figures at an event held on Wednesday. Also, the flag bearer of Gambia Action Party, Mr. Lamin Bojang, is my guest today. But first, a quick review of the newspapers. I will start with the Standard, of course. I also have the Point, but I will go through the Standard first and then Point. Their lead story is saying Action Man, that's Bala Gaba Jahumpa, says no one can get elected president without APRC support. Or also on the Standard, after his return home, what next in the Melvin Roberts saga? COVID-19, that's the coronavirus, poses grave threat to Gambian businesses. That's according to Gambia Chamber of Commerce. Jammeh receives Peace Award. We have a full report on that. That came at an event that was held yesterday in Manjai. Soldiers occupy Guinea-Bissau Supreme Court. We will quickly go through the Standard stories there. General Secretary, or the General Secretary of the former ruling party, Balagawa Jahumpa, has said APRC is still the biggest party in the country, and without its support, no candidate will be able to win presidential election in the Gambia. Speaking to Standard during the events marking the inauguration of the 121-kilometer North Bank Trunk Road on Saturday, the former Works Minister argued, "You people have seen for yourselves. When we, that is APRC, have meetings, the crowds that people expect is always doubled and sometimes tripled, and that makes some people scared that this party is really growing. Let me tell you, nobody can win a presidential election in this country without the APRC." That's according to Action Man. After his return home, what next in the Melvin Roberts saga? The Minister of Foreign Affairs has confirmed to the Standard the return of its interdicted Deputy Permanent Secretary, Mr. Melvin Roberts, to the country. Mr. Roberts was reportedly suspended from his post and recalled to Banjul in the wake of accusations of sexual assaults leveled against him by several Gambian women. At least 5 women have accused Mr. Roberts of sexual abusing them. Mr. Roberts, who was completing a postgraduate degree at Oxford University when the slew of torrid sexual allegations surfaced, has denied them. Contacted for comments on or update on Mr. Roberts' case, Sekou Cisse, communications officer at the Foreign Affairs Ministry, said, "Given the sensitive nature of the matter, we seek your indulgence to give us time while we wait for the submission of the report from the concerned department." Soldiers occupy Guinea-Bissau Supreme Court. Dozens of soldiers have occupied the grounds of Guinea-Bissau's Supreme Court, the court said on Wednesday, deepening a post-election crisis that has resulted in the appointment of rival presidents and the silencing of state media. COVID-19, that's the coronavirus, poses grave threat to Gambian businesses. GCCI, following the outbreak of the deadly novel coronavirus in many countries, including neighboring Senegal, the head of the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry said the pandemic poses an imminent threat to Gambian businesses and the country's economy because lack of adequate resources and facilities to contain it. That's according to Aliou Seka, the Chief Executive Officer of GCCI. So we will now turn to what the Point is saying today. Ban group vows pressure on Barrow. Coronavirus. Saudi Arabia suspends Umrah pilgrimage. Health Minister visits Amdalai border post amid coronavirus crisis or outbreak. Barrow inaugurates Bansang Hydrological Complex. The only way to test democracy is to test instruments of democracy. That's a quote there. The spokesman of the Ban Operation 3 Years Jotna movement, Haji Swane, has told the Point that his movement will continue to mount pressure on President Adama Barrow to respect the 2016 coalition agreement. In an exclusive interview with the Point on Wednesday, Swane maintained that they would not allow any form of self-perpetuating rule again in the country. Coronavirus. Saudi Arabia suspends Umrah pilgrimage. Saudi Arabia on Wednesday suspended the year-round Umrah pilgrimage over fears that coronavirus could spread to Islam's holiest cities. Health Minister visits Amdalai border post amid corona outbreak. The Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmadu Lamin Samate, alongside senior health officials on Tuesday, visited Amdalai border post to assess the level of preparedness amid the spread of the deadly coronavirus disease there. Barrow inaugurates Bansang Hydrological Complex. President Adam Barrow on Wednesday inaugurated the Bansang Hydrology Complex at a ceremony held in Central River Region. I think that's all for the papers, but we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. Thank you. Former President Yahya Jammeh has landed an award. The award was conferred on the former president by an association that claims to have over 100 members. It came at an event held in Manjai on Wednesday. More in this report. It's a moment seen as historic, at least by Jammeh's supporters. Former President Yahya Jammeh was on Wednesday issued an award dubbed National Peace Award. It came from Concern Gambia Social Welfare Association.
His Excellency Dr. Alhaji Yahya AJJ Jammeh Babili Mansa, former President of Republic of the Gambia, has been awarded a National Peace Award by the Concerned Gambians Social Welfare Association, a legally registered body in the Third Republic of the Gambia. Babili Mansa first advised to his successor, President Adama Barrow, after conceding defeat, was not to compromise national security, peace and stability of the Gambia. In 2016 constitutional crisis in the Gambia, which led to a political impasse. The nation was heading to a civil war. Babili Mansa acknowledged stepping down in order to maintain peace and stability in the Gambia on 21st January 2017 after resistance. Babili Mansa left Gambian territory to Equatorial Guinea. Even though he was away, he was hard advocating peace to APRC executive through a WhatsApp conversation that they should maintain peace and stability and not to let themselves to involve in damaging any property and not to abuse anyone. Give the devil his due. That is to acknowledge the positive qualities of a person who is considered bad, unpleasant, or disliked.
The award comes more than 3 years since Jammeh suffered a devastating demolition at a presidential election held in 2016. He had since been living in exile in Equatorial Guinea. Jammeh's supporters insist he deserves recognition for his good deeds.
It is with great humility, underpinned by a sense of hope, that Gambians, both here and the diaspora, would sit to reflect in the interest of our motherland and appreciate that His Excellency former President Yahya Abdul Aziz James Junkun Jammeh is indeed a peace builder in this country since he left. I understand Concerned Gambian Social Welfare Association is a registered institution and apolitical. I also want to recognize Lucy, who prayed for us in the Christian prayers. I apologize. You can be rest assured that history and posterity will recognize you as one of the institutions that sincerely carved the way for peace and reconciliation in present-day Gambia. You quoted Babili Mansa when he gave up and said he was leaving for Equatorial Guinea. That his advice to current President Adama Barrow was not to compromise Gambia's peace, security, and stability. Whether we like it or not, it must be recognized that His Excellency President Yahya Jammeh's departure from the source of the Gambia was only motivated by his love of country and love of citizens.
Jatta has taken a swipe at those who say Jammeh left Gambia because he was afraid.
We are aware, all of us, that in this generation, wars are never won. ECOWAS has fought in so many West African countries. Tell me which war they have won, except bringing misery to the population. But for those doubting Thomases, who believe that it was because of fear, that warranted former President Yahya Jammeh to leave this country, will never, never, ever accept the truth.
The APRC interim leader also insists the award means a lot for the Gambia.
This award, Peace Award, should serve as an inroad not only for the APRC, but for the coalition government led by President Adama Barrow. Since President Jammeh left the source of this country, look at history. Let's all reflect on history. Presidents who leave their countries and go out would always pray for and advise for violence. But as you quoted, the few that you have heard, the public had heard, and the thousands we were told that you have not heard, you would come to realize that His Excellency Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya Abdul Aziz James Junkun Jammeh is a man of God.
Wednesday's development is also coming amid a cumbersome investigation into the human rights violations and abuses that occurred during the 22 years rule of the former tyrant. While Jammeh's supporters are basking in the joy of a group coming forward to celebrate the former dictator, many Gambians have, however, slammed the development as a joke. Lamin Jai reporting for the Fatu Network News Review.
I feel that come like going they film and they can film like they feel like come new na def madara mangi talk so do about the money they film madara so my guy ma welcome nice ma welcome right now my business my restaurant so you that but I start the come fish fry kese la do enjoy so small business with 2005 la go started. So I'm going to got a better year than my family. So wow, because we don't know come here if you could live in am. If you know them, so them you don't live so live go living. Even like dem ka ci baaw gi ñuy dem yëpp foog nga liggéey soo eggee Libya am na ku laa yónnee da nga am liggéey si gars yi la fay liggéey boo xalaat di nga ko fa def léegi bu tax yow sa dëkk doo mën a def loolu dégg dama jël sample bi si man bi ma jógee Libya ma ñëw dama xool ne toog naa 7 mois def ma dara man su ma boobu ma toog ma xalaat man maa ngi Libya liggéey bu nekk def naa ko def naa ko raxas boo def naa lu nekka su ma dégga lu tax maa ngi wane ne dama xool liggéey maa def soo si laa dugga si lii nag ba tax ma dugga si lii tur bi la ma def booy fish pipe booy fale ma su ñu may wax man maay booy fish pipe tey sant yàlla waaw soo dañu war a try ñu génn ñu liggéey ñu bàyyi toog bi ñu bàyyi à dépend soo xam nga ku liggéey fi di nga am dara te li nga am nga plan ticket yi nga xam ne ñu ngi si ko am xam nga like ñu ngi dugga si nawet ñu ngi bëgg a béy xam nga soo tabaski baa ngay ñëw tamit ñu ngi bëgg a jaay xar xam nga.
Thank you. My guest today is Lamin Bojang. Mr. Bojang is the flag bearer candidate vis-a-vis political battle acts of Gambia Action Party going into the 2021 presidential elections. Mr. Bojang, thank you very much for taking time out.
Mr. Jai, thank you very much for having me, and it is my real pleasure to be here. And again, I want to place an apology for not being able to grace the occasions some time ago because of our engagements. We could not avail ourselves to this kind of interaction. But I'm happy to be here, and I also want to thank you for reaching out to us, but also through you to the CEO and every staff of the FATU network.
Mr. Bojang, first off, you are someone who has a number of lives. You first started as a military man, then a diplomat, and now a politician. Quickly, let us go through your military life.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was enlisted into the Gambia Armed Forces on 28th of April 1995. Actually, our training was supposed to be conducted in Farafene on the 27th of July 1994. But before 1994, the coup d'etat took place. So our training was deferred to January 1995. So we were the first batch of the Second Republic of the Republic of the Gambia. So when I finished my basic infantry training, because I joined the military because I am a state registered nurse at the time. And I went to School of Nursing because I wanted to use that as a springboard to become a doctor, because this is the passion that I had at the time. And while I was in the military, I was also the head of the medical corps in the military. So in 1995, around I think June, July, we were called again to come and start for the cadet course, and this is what my officer corps began. I was called with other officers. We sat on exams. Alhamdulillah, I came out first in that exams, and 6 of us, were lucky to be selected from there. So it was from there that I had my cadet training, basic officer training in Ghana. And in 1996, when I returned, I held several locations. But in 1996, when I returned, I continued to work at the medical center as the head of the unit. It was there I worked all throughout until later in I guess it was I cannot remember exactly because it's been a while ago.
It's been a while.
Exactly, yeah. But it was around 1999-2000 when my corps was changed from medical to infantry without any regret at all. So I had I went through all the ranks to the rank of general.
Yes.
And I also had I have done all the courses, also commensurating to my rank.
So would you say that you are a fast riser, someone who was enlisted into the army in 1995, and by the tail end of 2010, around 2010, you were right up there?
Would I say it that way? I'm not sure, because I think...
Because this would take some people 30, at least minimum 30 years. But by 2010, 2012, you were a general already, commander of the army.
That's correct. That's correct. I went through a process, and traditional military process. If you're to become an officer, these are the processes that we have to go through. I sat to the cadet exams, which I passed, and I went to a cadet training school. Very few of us in the Gambia Armed Forces at the time had gone through that kind of processes. So when I returned, I was, like I said earlier on, I was working in the medical corps. But at that time also, I have been exposed to a lot of challenges, and I have exhibited, comported myself, and I have fulfilled the criteria that were laid down that will qualify me to go to the next rank. And I have served over 20 years in the military. Would I say that I have just, risen fast in the ranks? I'm not sure, because I can remember when I was a captain, I spent nearly 9 years,
before you could
I could move to the next rank.
Next rank,
exactly,
yeah.
yes. So if you look at the because, like, for instance, second lieutenants and lieutenants, you have 2 years. You have to be you have to spend 2 years as a second lieutenant and lieutenant. Yes. So the rest of the promotions are mainly political. Like if you're lieutenant colonels, and generals, those are political appointments. It does not necessarily mean that you have to pass a particular course before you are lifted to another rank. So for me, I am not sure if it was fast. I've never thought like that.
Yeah. So how was like in the military when you were a member of the Gambia Armed Forces? Because this coincided with a period which some people described as the most difficult for the Gambia Armed Forces, a period that was dotted by coups. How was it like in the military?
Yeah, like it has been said by a lot of people, I was in, and my experiences were that the military wasn't on the path of that professional military that you would expect, because a lot of things were lacking. One of the most important things that I can say, it was training, and it still continued to be a problem. Training was our problem. The military was at that time also ill-equipped. The morale was high, but at some point, because of the interference, there were a lot of low morals, because there were some soldiers who see themselves as marginalized, and others were favored over them. And this has created, not outwardly, but within, it has created that kind of a dismay, that kind of a disgruntled. But then people could not sort it out because of the way the promotions were done. The welfare of the soldiers were taken care of. Soldiers were also been given the privilege to move out of the country to enrich themselves, courses. And, but internally, the main thing that we lacked at the time was training. I can remember in 2011 when I was retired abruptly, I was the last person who conducted a training with the aim of ensuring that the kind of training that we're receiving from different, militaries like Nigeria, Ghana, Pakistan, UK, United States of America, to harmonize those drills. Yes. So in order to do that, I conducted a training sometime around 2010, 2011. This is just, aimed at making sure that we have one doctrine, one policy for our soldiers. But yes, the military was a very lively institution at the time, though we were faced with a lot of challenges like the ones that I have just highlighted. Yeah, but some of us in the ranks, we knew that we had a job to do. I joined the military that is supposed to protect the integrity of the country, supposed to protect lives and properties of Gambian people. And
was that really the case?
And my position at the time was, I did not join in the military to serve an individual or group of people. I did not join the military to serve, my community or, your community. I joined the military to serve the Gambian people. And exactly, if you trail me while I was in the military, this is what the traces that you can do.
But Gambia Armed Forces is not an individual per se. It is an institution. And this institution, what much is known, is that it in fact served an individual. And you were part and parcel of this institution.
Yeah, exactly. The military is that if you understand the doctrine, if you understand the philosophy, the psychology, you will understand that the military is supposed to be loyal to an authority. And that authority, like it goes now, I'm sure everybody knew about that, is that the armed forces is supposed to be, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces is the president of the republic. And then he has lieutenants, what I mean by the CDS, and then the command goes like that. So if you're within, you have to be loyal to a command. And at that time, some of us were also loyal to a command. And we as an institution, we are all loyal to the commander-in-chief. Okay, but yes, you are right that some people in the armed forces were perceived to have, or seen to have, exaggerated their responsibilities, exaggerated their functions, which has marred the armed forces with a lot of, dented images and stuff like that. Yes, I will agree with you. But when I was serving, this was what I did. I divorced those responsibilities, those that I would call odds or illegal, from the right, from the norms, from the traditional values of the armed forces. And I could not do this thing without the training, the exposure that I had. So some of us who were privileged to be in those positions of authority, these were some of the things that we have shown, we have demonstrated. And that is true, but yes, there were a few elements, officers and men of the armed forces, who comported themselves well, who behaved themselves well, despite all the challenges that,
But then you said loyalty. That was this issue of loyalty to command. But this loyalty, does it have to be blind? Because what has happened is that even if you say you are one of those officers who comported or conducted themselves in a way that was appropriate, but then there was a lot of things that are wrong, that needed fixing. And there was no tangible effort on the part of those who call themselves as those are the ones, the righteous ones. They didn't take any tangible effort. And there wasn't anything to really show that Mr. Bojang, did not like some of the things that were happening.
Yeah, the military as an institution would not recruit rebels. Okay, if you're within the corps, would that be rebelling? No, what I wanted to say is this: if you're within the corps, you recognize your command. Okay, you can of command, and some of us stood by those facts and right things to make sure that any time that a particular directive is given, it is either lawful or it goes to serve the interests of the people. Yes. Probably if you were within, you would have also recognized our contribution. Individually, we had contributed. We had deterred certain odds from happening. We had put our lives on guillotine to make sure that certain things are there to serve the interests. I will give you a typical example.
Go ahead.
I remember when I was at the State Guard commander, I have noticed something at the Denton Bridge. Yes. And I'm sure you will also reference that some people have even lost their lives. Because we've seen that in Africa, especially in the Gambia, when something happens, usually we will see checkpoints everywhere. And what happened is that the pedestrians or the traffic, the people that plight on the routes, that are the people that normally suffer. So what I observed at Denton Bridge was that in 1994 or before 1994, Denton Bridge used to man a checkpoint there, and that checkpoint from 1994 it continues. But when I was at the commander at the State Guard, I noticed that at Denton Bridge, if you did not do anything about it, there could be a killing zone. And I thought as a commander, I should do something about it because I care about the Gambian people, their lives and their properties. And if that was true, so I should do something about it, regardless of what was happening at the time. So what I did was that, because if you put a soldier there, you give him a directive that this is what is going to happen. If a driver refuses to stop, you have to give warning shot, and then if the person refuses to stop, you know what the answer that is going to be. So what I did was that I said, no, cannot be. This is en route to our capital, Banjul. So what we need to do is to make sure that we proffer solutions to avert, people losing their lives here or people, being hurt here. So I went to the command, I went to the president one morning, and I told him that, Mr. President, I think I have a solution. I want to put a solution or a substitute to what is happening at Denton Bridge, just to deter, some of the odds from happening there. And then
by this time, did you know who was responsible for that?
Responsible for, because the troops were under me directly.
The troops were under, but I'm saying, did you know who was responsible for, activating troops to Denton Bridge? Did you know? Did you find out?
No, I did that. Yes, it's part of our check. It's part of our guard post. It is part of our guard post at the time. Yes. We're the unit that will post guards there. But when you are deploying troops to their guard posts, you brief them, you give them information. And the information is also that they are not there for picnic. They are there to perform a duty. And that duty also could be hostile. It depends on how you relay the message. So I understand that Denton Bridge, because they want to secure the State House. So Denton Bridge is an area that is fortified and fortified with kind of security that you don't compromise anything there. So in order to loosen that a little bit, I wanted to inject in something that soldiers will use as an alternative. Instead of now firing the rounds, they will use that as an alternative. So when I talked to the president, and I told him that I'm going to put outriders, because at the time he had these BMW outriders. So I told him that please give me 2 of your outriders. I'm going to place them at Denton Bridge. And he concurred with me. He said, okay, you can go ahead. At the time, Jesus was the IGP. So he told me, tell Jesus also to give you, in those days, I'm sure you all, there are these white outriders that are used by the police. He told me, tell Jesus also to give you 2 outriders. So we put those outriders together at the Denton Bridge. This is just mainly, if for instance, a driver is coming from Banjul towards Serekunda, and then for whatever reason stops or did not see the checkpoint, refused to, or could not stop, the soldiers will not use round. Instead, they will use the motorbike to chase the person. So this one I did purposely, just to make sure that we do not continue to harm the Gambian people, because these are the people that we're in. And secondly, I am one of those officers in the ranks who will make sure that soldiers understand their responsibilities, their core duties, and I do not compromise on that. I will punish a soldier for a civilian, provided that because we're supposed to be protecting them. So I am one of those few officers who are in the ranks who will make sure that soldiers do not go free, especially when they deliberately or whatever come into contact with civilians in order, because I don't encourage that. So I have punished soldiers, I have talked to them, I have ensured that I also led by example. I do not preach something that myself I do not embrace.
So now let us talk on one issue here, and this I think is the most important. This army was bastardized, it was abused, and the one man that is guilty of this was the former President Yahya Jammeh. You worked under him, you served as one of his commanders in the army, and people are saying the leaders at the time, the leaders of the army at that time, which you were a part of, knew that what Jammeh was doing, informing, for example, the junglers, taking a group of military men, appointing them to specialize in illegality. And these are things that the leaders knew, including yourself. What did you do?
I was also a victim. But let me put it this way. It is not the armed forces that were used. It was some remnants,
But these are members of the military.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you. I'm not disputing that these are members of the armed forces. But does that mean that every member of the armed forces were junglers? No. These people were composed of people who are irrelevant in the ranks. And I worked under the president directly, okay? And this was in 2009 and 2010, and I'm not here to exonerate him from the allegations. You said he is guilty, the one man that is guilty, and I would say that man that will be guilty, because I have not heard that he is put before any court of law.
At least in the court of public opinion, he's guilty.
Okay,
Yes.
you are entitled to your.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is that I am saying alleged for the simple reason that until that day, because I know what Gambian people want is what going to prevail at the end of the day. So the people that were used as junglers, these were irrelevant people. These were people in the ranks who have chosen to be used that way. I have worked on the former president directly, but not once has he given me any illegal order, illegal directive. Do you understand? So it depends also on an individual who is working with him. If he found you to be a liability, if he found you to be somebody who is not trusted, you could be used, and that is not only in the Gambia here. Like some of us, like you said, some of us were also victims. I will give you a typical example.
We will get to your victimization.
I'm giving you a typical example. Okay. You said, what have you done about that? Yes, we knew about it. What we did was, when I was at the State Guard, what I believe is that I want to make sure that things are done in the right way. These boys, there are some type of boys who will come there in military jeeps and military uniforms, and they want to come to State Guard to come and refill their vehicles there. So when I knew that these are people that are not directly under my command, I stopped them from coming there. So that was the time that I was also a victim, because they started calling me, insulting me, and posting threats over and over and over, until we had to go into, the military had to mount an investigation just to find out who they were. But yes, some of us in the ranks, we have fought to make sure that, you know, it does not also involve the good ones and those that we were depending on at the time.
So the reason why I asked this is because as a leader in the military, these men that you call irrelevant, you have a responsibility to protect them.
Yes.
To protect them.
That's
you have that, because these are men who work under you.
Yes.
So you have a responsibility and a duty to make sure that they are not abused. People do not just come and take advantage of them because of their position.
Yeah,
their disempowered position.
Yeah,
so some of these people, that is clearly what happened. But as commander of the Gambia Armed Forces 2010, 11, what did you do to ensure that your men are protected, including these junglers? What did you do? Because you knew, we cannot just say that you were commander of the army, so this means that all these people were under you.
No, they
Mr.
were not.
Bojang, what did you do?
They were all not under me.
But how is that possible?
No, they were not all under me. I want to give you the way the formations are, the services are. I was the head of the army. There is Navy, and there is Republican National Guard, and each of them has their heads. At one time, when I was at the State Guard commander, I doubled also as a Republican National Guard commander. So at that time, the troops that were under me were Fajara Barracks and State Guard. So when I was moved from State Guard and I was promoted as the Army commander, it was Yundum and Farafenni. Now it is Basse that are now under the Army commander. So at the time, when the activities of the junglers were being perpetrated, I was not as the State Guard commander, neither at the Army commander. I was in the ranks at the time, either a staff officer or manning another position. For instance, I served a lot. I served as commanding officers as well in Farafenni, Fajara Barracks, and also at Yundum. So at that time, like I have said earlier on, what I did was to make sure that I talked to my soldiers, to make sure that I communicate with my soldiers, to make sure that I lead by example, making sure that whatever they hear in the ranks, especially those activities that will dent the image of the armed forces, we must desist from them. Those were some of the things that you could do, because those are the polite and the disciplined way. I cannot come here and brag that I went to Jammeh and disgruntled way I did ABCD. What I did was I was responsible for troops, and anytime that I have access to them, and the officers also who were under me at the time, I make sure that I communicate a message. The message that is to ensure that we focused on the core responsibilities of the armed forces, and at the time, the Army or the Republican National Guard when I was at the State Guard. So some of us have done a lot to ensure that even the junglers were protected, but the junglers were not directly under me. They were never under me directly. Even at the State Guard commander is not responsible for the junglers. You know, the armed forces also has those type of formations. You can have, for instance, let's say battalion. In the battalion, you can have special forces, and that special forces will be under the command of a particular officer, not directly under the commanding officer of a battalion. So we have that kind of formation, but this time the name junglers, there are a lot of jungler is a doctrine. It's a doctrine in the armed forces, and to be called jungler, they borrowed this term because there were times that we had training at Fajara Barracks here when some soldiers were trained to become junglers, because jungle warfare is another type of warfare, and we also want to specialize in that area. So that was where they derived the name junglers, but they were not directly under us to say every morning they fall in our parades or they fall in somewhere that we brief them or talk to them. No, they were very difficult to be reached. In fact, they were not even reporting to work. They were directly under a separate command. And that made the armed forces very, very easy, but very difficult to command.
But that's not normal. In a proper setting, that would be abnormal.
Yes, that's correct.
So the abnormality, that's what I'm talking about. As a leader in the military, and you know that the person responsible for this abnormality was the head of state.
Right.
In as much as he was also the commander-in-chief.
Right.
But you are a top advisor as a leader in the military.
Right.
And you did not take any action vis-a-vis engaging the president in ensuring that such an abnormality doesn't happen?
Yes.
An abnormality of getting a group of soldiers.
Yes.
Yes,
I did, Mr. Njai.
You engaged him?
No, I constantly, because that was my responsibility. You see, I don't want to come here and brag.
This is not about bragging. This is about being transparent on some of these issues.
Yeah, but I can tell you, I have done that time without number to engage the president in discussing issues that will portray his image to be a good person. You know, one of the things is what I've just explained about Denton Bridge. And another thing is at the State Guard, there used to be a gap between the older members of the armed forces and members of State Guard. State Guard personnel were seen as being the darling of the president at the time, because of by virtue of their responsibilities. They were responsible for the presidency and the VIPs. So they have that immunity quickly. They do have that immunity quickly to, they have that immunity from the command. You know, when I say command, I mean the president, when it comes to reprimanding those who defaulted. And as a result, some of us, when I was posted at the State Guard, this was one of the things that I quickly tried to redress. And how I did that was that because that was the only thing that you can do. If you're in a system and you found out that for some reason that system is not working or it's not functioning, you know, in the right direction, you cannot quit. If you quit, then it means you're giving it a delivery for it to continue, those odds to continue. So we stayed in the ranks, even though our lives were also threatened.
But some said you stayed but kept silent.
No, I wasn't.
Some said
no,
that.
I was not the one. Nobody will say that General Boja, while he was serving, was a quiet person in the ranks, because I was the one that they will run up to when they are in trouble. I will be the one that they will wait to come, because he is the one who is going to make sure that he says when things are not easy, not easy to be said. So some of us, we are not. I was shall I say stubborn to your TV?
Of course,
yes,
of course.
exactly. I was those stubborn officers in the ranks. If you knew.
In the ranks.
Yeah.
But your life in the military was cut short. You were retired, even if prematurely. I mean, just one day, President Jammeh said, okay, enough. I've had enough of General Bojang, and you are retired. And to me, I would call this sacking, because you never wanted to leave the army. All of a sudden, someone just comes and say, you are retired, we are redeploying you. They will sugarcoat it and say, we are redeploying you to this foreign service. But you were one of the most powerful officers. You clearly didn't want to leave this role.
I was scared of. I was one of those officers that did not want to stay in the ranks. You know, I have had my bitter experiences in the Corps. I was one of the officers that, when I was at the State Guard, I remember one time the president, somebody went to the president, because I knew this thing through my IOs. They reported me to the president that the soldiers are afraid of me, you know, and then the president is afraid of me.
Who reported you?
Yeah, through my IOs at the State Guard. You know, State Guard is a very sensitive area. If you walk in there, certain actions that you do, one typical example, I did not want soldiers to brew attire when they are performing duties. So I stopped soldiers. And I remember this particular moment, there were soldiers, I was on duty, the president was away, I was on duty, because when the president goes out, the State Guard commander will spend the night in the camp. So while I was there, I caught soldiers brewing attire there, and I punished them. So the message went to the president, and the message was that I am punishing soldiers when they are brewing attire. And the message was even scaring, because they said it's the president that gives them attire so that they will not sleep at night. And that was unprofessional. It's not supposed to be done. So they thought I was up to something. You know, so those are some of the things. Like myself and some other officers, we are scared. They're scared of me. They say the soldiers are afraid of me. And they also think that I knew too much. You know, I did not know, but I was accessible to the soldiers. Soldiers can easily access me, regardless of my rank. You know, because that was what I did. I availed myself to them because I want to know something. That is the way that I will be able to, try to cry for them or try to solve some of their problems. So we were not quiet in the ranks. We were not that vocal in the sense that we become rebellious. No, we were in the ranks.
You were doing a very cautious path, if you like.
That is exactly we were doing. But the soldiers, if this is a phone-in program, some of them will attest to the fact that, it was a very difficult moment. So we ensure that soldiers they are not confused with the way things were run in the armed forces vis-a-vis the norms, the values, and the traditional cultures of the armed forces. Some of us stood by that, and that is why probably we had survived
You have survived. But before we go to your removal from the army, let us.
That part skips me.
That is where the question that I asked you. But I will take you a little back.
Yeah.
The coups, a lot of coups.
Yeah.
You did not participate in any of the coup d'etats. Why?
Mr. Njai, I don't believe. I did not believe in any coup d'etat.
Some say no, he's simply not a very lion-hearted soldier. So because this coup may misfire and then you get
But then how can, if you are a lion-hearted person, how can you organize a coup d'etat and while it is in the making, then you just disappear? If you are a lion-hearted person. If you are a lion-hearted person, why would you then lie? Some of the coup d'etats, like the 2006, the Nduru Cham coup d'etat, I did not know that was a coup d'etat until the TRRC. I thought it was a fabrication against some officers in the corps. That was the coup d'etat that had almost wiped out the cream of the core of the armed forces. You see, I do not believe in coup d'etat. That is my belief.
So that is why you did not participate in No,
I will not participate because they will not discuss it with me. I'm not the darling of some certain officers who were involved in those kind of coup d'etats. No, you cannot approach me. I'm a very tough guy.
But then also some might say the reason why these people did not approach you is because you were a Jammeh loyalist. So as soon as they tell you, you'll run to Jammeh and say X, Y, and Z are organizing a coup d'etat.
Let me tell you something. In 1999, we were deployed. We were the first troop to be deployed to Sierra Leone. We went to the former vice president to pay a courtesy call. Here I have to say, Seydou Njie said it precisely. We went to her to pay a courtesy call, and once we came from her office, myself and another major at the time, we paid Landing Sane a courtesy call, not knowing that those people were planning a coup d'etat. You understand? But while we were grouping during our normal daily interaction, there was a time that I saw that signs of something in the making. I did not know exactly. So when we went there, we greeted and then we just left for Sierra Leone. I think 2 weeks later or so. So we were told that there was a coup d'etat that was employed.
You did not know.
I did not know. And all the coup d'etats that happened in this country, all of them found me in this country. I was going to be one of those that are going to be easily eliminated if they had succeeded. Because, no, Mr. Njie, let us be honest, okay? If Yahya Jammeh was difficult at the time, if Yahya Jammeh, like they call him a dictator, if he is a dictator at the time, coup d'etats were not going to remove him. I knew it. I knew that there was no way that you can remove him through coup d'etat. And I used to tell soldiers that there is no way you can, no way. Until 30th December, 2014, 30th December was 2014, no.
14, yes.
14, right?
Yes.
I was here. I came from Saudi Arabia with investors. Okay? All the coup d'etats that had happened in this country, even that one that I wasn't even in the armed forces, found me here in the Gambia. That day they said I was here because of that 30th December coup, which was wrong. They called me at State Guard to find out because the soldiers alleged that I was here because the coup d'etat was in the making. But that was false because they knew, because my authorities knew very well that I was here. So I did not take part in coup d'etat, not because I wasn't lion-hearted. What was it going to benefit me? Nothing.
Not because you were a Jammeh loyalist.
No, I'm not. I was never close to Yahya Jammeh. He did not even know where I come from. Yahya Jammeh, he did not even know where I came from. I remember I took my elders from Brufut to State Guard. He thought I'm from Jambanjeli. There, his commander, he did not even know where I come from. So I was never close to him. I have never known him before. It is because the policies, because of my beliefs. My belief is my belief, okay? I believe that I'm serving the Gambian people. They have to decide how to remove Yahya Jammeh. Let nobody fool us, please. Let us not even dwell on that path.
But what was your impression of Jammeh? Did you like him when you were in the army?
Yeah, I used to like him when I was working with him. I liked him when I was working with him. But I knew at one point he has lost control over the country. He wasn't in charge of this country.
When did you knew that?
That was when I left. You know,
That was when you know.
Yeah, I knew that he wasn't in charge because I knew that some officers were in charge of the country who were just there for their own interests. And this was what had created this whole mess. You know, towards the tail end of this.
So now your removal, you were removed alongside
I
three
was
or four
officers, yes,
commanders.
abruptly.
Yes.
You know, there was no excuse for it. Abruptly. I was in my 40s though. But I was not prepared to leave. They did not sack me, and I have challenged.
You were sacked.
No,
I know you challenged us with this, but someone who was enjoying his position, his role, and you remove him and sugarcoat it and say, "Oh, we are redeploying you."
But even
some redeployments would never even come. But that is sacking.
No, that is
in
not sacking.
English language. That's if you remove someone against his will, that is sacking.
But
that is what happened in your case.
No. It wasn't
you said
like
you were enjoying the army. You were enjoying being commander of the army.
No. I wasn't enjoying the commander of the army. What happened was that I thought I still was young at the time.
Yes.
In my 40s. And I had a lot.
And you had more in the tank.
And I was doing a lot of projects in the armed forces. I was doing a lot. The credit union, the armed forces, I was the one who was the mastermind. The transport that you see in the buses, I was the one who was the there are articles that I have even written. That I wanted the armed forces to become people's army, the Gambia people's army, not the army of an individual. Okay, so this was the process. But my abrupt removal or
abrupt
removal, exactly from the armed forces. It was against my will. But there is an English word for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, the English, the one invented by the government. The one invented by the government was redeployed.
Exactly. So
because redeployed is the what much is known is that since Yahya Jammeh came to power until the day he left, anyone that he removes, he fires, he would call it redeployed, relieved and redeployed. These are the two words that were used. Relieved, redeployed. Relieved, redeployed. And that is equivalent in English. That is the same as sacking someone that you fire.
The fact that I'm not in an English class, I'm not in an English class
but then,
to dispute that. But what I want to say is this. When I was abruptly, redeployed into the diplomatic mission, I went to Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Saudi Arabia, is that a coincidence? They redeployed me to Saudi Arabia. And
they had already, it was already preconceived. This man, I will fire him, but I will do it nicely. I will just take him to Saudi Arabia. It's a very far off place. If I take him to Saudi Arabia, thousands of miles away, I will be,
let me give you this common sense. That is a hypothetical, situation. Because it did not happen that way. So because it did not happen that way, I would say that I was redeployed into a diplomatic mission. You are assuming that, that was what happened. And it did not happen that way. They said diplomats do not answer to hypothetical questions.
Exactly. Okay, so you are going to fair enough.
And I will insist that I wasn't.
You were just redeployed.
Exactly.
Okay, fair enough.
When I was redeployed,